to lead.
Hello, good morning and welcome to The Conversation, wishing you live from TUS TV, your digital-first Pan-African news network. We bring you The Conversation, bringing you up-to-date information across Africa, informative, educative and incisive stories and happenings all across Africa. It promises to be a great show this morning. My name is Asalze Isesal and I'll be your uncle this morning. All right, it will be time for us to take developments across Africa. Do stay tuned. The conversation will be right back this morning.
TOS TV Network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live. Watch out for the latest update on sports and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV Network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.
Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform.
Welcome back. It's still The Conversation on your digital-first Pan-African news network, TUS TV. It's time for us to bring you stories all across Africa. And we begin from Nigeria with one of the biggest stories going on. Nigeria's Okonjo-Iweala has been appointed WTO Director General. Now, the World Trade Organization has appointed the former Nigeria's Minister, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, as the new Director General. Ngozi now becomes the first woman and also African to lead the Switzerland-based institution. Her appointment came after the WTO had a special General Council meeting on Monday. Earlier on, U.S. President Joe Biden strongly swung behind her candidacy shortly after the only other remaining contender, South Korean Trade Minister Yoo Young-hee, pulled out. Now, Okonjo-Iweala, who has also served on Twitter's board of directors as chair of Gavi Vaccine Alliance and as special envoy for the World Health Organization COVID-19 fight, saw her candidacy get a boost when the EU threw its weight behind her. It's been trending all over Twitter and of course across all major media platforms. And we move over to the next story. Sahel, France leaders meet in Chad to discuss fight against armed groups. Leaders of the so-called G5 Sahel, Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania and Niger are to attend the two-day summit in the Chadian capital N'Djamena with French President Emmanuel Macron. Now, with public opinion at home fiercely against the deployment in the Sahel, while also eyeing re-election, Macron is seeking support to cut troop numbers. 6 UN peacekeepers have been killed in Mali this year alone, and France has lost 5 soldiers since December. But despite touted military successes, militants remain in control of vast swaths of territory and attacks are unrelenting. Okay, we move over to Somalia. Somalia resumes aviation license issuance after 30 years. The Somali Civil Aviation Authority, based in Aden Hard International Airport, has for the first time in 30 years issued registration and license certificate to aircraft operating in the country. Now, the event in attendance had federal government officials, including Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, Mohammed Abdullahi Salad Omar. Among the first flights issued licenses by the Somali Aviation Authority are Hala Airlines and Freedom Airlines. The minister commended the staff of the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation for their efforts on the country's aviation system and the implementation of the new system. The local airlines flying various routes in Somalia were previously registered in neighboring countries like Ethiopia and Kenya. We move over to a COVID-19 related story, and this one says 17 African nations listed on UK red list countries. 17 African nations listed on UK red list countries. The UK has issued new travel measures to visitors from 17 African nations intending to travel to the island. Travelers will need to quarantine for 10 days in government-approved hotels and will have to pay for themselves during their stay. Travelers will foot a bill not less than $100 per night, and then the UK had previously banned the entry of passengers from 11 African countries, including South Africa, in a measure to prevent the spread of the new COVID-19 variant. And the UK had issued a time frame of February 15th to begin restriction on travelers from areas they perceived as red zone. From today, arrivals in England from 33 countries will have to pay some £2,000 to self-isolate for 10 days in a pre-booked hotel room. Also, breaking the rules could see people charged for fines of up to 11,500 euros or even face 10 years in prison, according to the UK government. All right, that's it from our developments across Africa. It will now be time for us to bring you the numbers on the COVID-19 update. Let's see what it looks like all across Africa. Just stay tuned. All right, welcome back. That's some 3.7 million active cases all across Africa. That's the COVID-19 update that we bring you this morning. You're still watching the conversation on TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African news network. Do follow us on social media to be a part of the conversation this morning. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our newspaper review. Do stay tuned.
North to South Africa. East to West Africa. TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Watch us on television, channel 138 on TSTV Africa. North to South Africa.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on your digital first Pan-African news network. You're still watching the conversation, and it's time for us to go over to look at the newspaper reviews and see what the headlines have for us this morning. We begin from the Daily Times, where you have this very beautiful picture of the Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, and the headline says, Nigeria's others hail Okonjo-Iweala's double fiat at WTO and pledge support. Nigerians, others hail Okonjo-Iweala's double fiat at WTO, pledge support. And under the picture, you have this story under the title Insecurity. It says, Northwest governors meet NSA service chiefs. West governors meet NSA and service chiefs. Just by the side of that story, you have another story with the caption End SARS protest, and it says LCC pledges with youths LCC pleads with youth over Lekki toll gate. It has the title NSAS protest, and it says LCC pleads with youth over Lekki toll gate. Next to that story, you also have the title. It says vaccines, and the headline says India developing about 20 more COVID-19 vaccines, says minister. And on top of the Daily Times newspaper, you find this headline. It says WHO approves AstraZeneca vaccine for emergency use. All of the stories you can find on the Daily Times newspaper. We move over to Daily Trust. And on Daily Trust, you have the story that says FG raises alarm over Ebola resurgence. FG raises alarm over Ebola resurgence. You can find that on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Now, next to that story, you have many headsmen being prosecuted for alleged killings. This is coming from the presidency. It says many headsmen being prosecuted for alleged killings. Next to that story, you also have governor's loyalist kicks as Lai wants Kwara APC registration cancelled. Governor's loyalist kick as Lai wants Kwara APC registration cancelled. If you want to get more insight to that story, it's on page 27 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Now, this gaping headline right there says Northerners leaving Ibadan in droves. Northerners leaving Ibadan in droves, and that is referring to the crisis in Shasha. There's these 3 riders just under the story. It says no support from government will contribute to feed victims, says their leader. No support from government will contribute to feed victims. And under the story, you have Bagudu, Ganduje, Bello, Matawale meet Makinde. Bagudu, Ganduje, Bello, Matawale meet Makinde. And the very last rider there says IGP deploys 4 riot police squadrons. And under the picture of the day, under the photos of the day on Daily Trust, you find Buhari, others set agenda for Ikonjo-Iweala as WTO DG. All of those stories you can find on Daily Trust newspaper. Very quickly, we move over to the Nigerian News Direct. Nigerian News Direct. You have this gaping headline that says, Oyo crisis. IGP deploys police mobile force and intelligence operatives. Oyo crisis. IGP deploys police mobile force, intelligence operatives. It has 2 riders. It says releases helicopter for surveillance, intervention, stabilization forces. DIG in charge of Southwest, David Folawiyo, to coordinate operations. Of course, all of that is to douse the tension going on in Oyo State. Under that, you find WTO, LCII, others task Okonjo-Iweala on trade reforms for Nigeria, Africa amid COVID-19. Still related to the Shasha crisis, Makinde says we will ensure justice for all victims. We will ensure justice for all victims. Coming from the executive governor of Oyo State, Engineer Sheyi Makinde. And under that, you have stabilizing internal security. IGP flags off Operation POF Ada 2. Stabilizing internal security, IGP flags off Operation POF Ada 2. Still on the News Direct newspaper, you find this story: mass disenfranchisement, suspend APC registration in Kwara. Lai Mohammed and all stakeholders call. That is as regarding the ongoing APC membership registration and revalidation exercise. And Lai Mohammed is saying mass disenfranchisement, suspend APC registration in Kwara. Now, under that story, you have Governor Abiodun visits victim of herdsmen attacks, set up special task force to quell crisis. And then finally, on the Nigerian News Direct, you have teachers recruitment. Oshun releases qualifying exam results. Quite a lot of informative stories there on Nigeria News Direct. You should do well to get a copy this morning to keep yourself informed. And we move over to the leadership newspaper. Still on all of the praises coming through for the Director General of the WTO. This headline says, new DG Okonjo-Iweala vows to transform WTO. New DG Okonjo-Iweala vows to transform WTO. And then under that story, you have Kaduna holds local government polls May 15th. Kaduna to holds local government polls May 15th. The gaping headline there on leadership says, criminal headers are being tried and convicted. This is coming from the presidency. We saw a similar headline not too long ago. You can find that story on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper. This one, as relating to COVID-19, says Nigerian records 24 COVID-19 deaths in one day. That is huge. Nigeria records 24 COVID-19 deaths in one day. That also begs that we do not throw caution to the wind, but then we all get to apply caution, in terms of adhering to the COVID-19 protocols, as stipulated by the government and, of course, the health organizations. This one says FG to get 1.4 million doses of vaccines donated by MTN. Federal government to get 1.4 million doses of vaccines donated by MTN. And then the last story there says monitors outbreak of Ebola in Guinea and the Republic of Congo. Finally, as regards petroleum, this one says oil price hits 13-month high as Brent crude climbs to $63.32. Of course, more stories are there on the Leadership newspaper. That's how much we can take for our newspaper review this morning. We will go on a quick break, and when we come back, we will show you the trends that are happening on social media. You're still watching The Conversation on TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African news network.
North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Watch us on television, channel 138 on TSTV.
Welcome back. It's now time for the segment trending on social media right here on The Conversation, reaching you live from TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African news network. There's been this very interesting social media challenge that kick-started just yesterday. The moment the announcement from WTO was made that Dr. Okonjo-Iweala is now the Director General of the World Trade Organization. Now, Twitter users in a fashion challenge to celebrate Okonjo-Iweala as she emerged new DG of WTO. Now, some Twitter users have addressed, some Twitter users had to dress like Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala in a fashion challenge tagged Be Like Ngozi Challenge, and NY goes to WTO to celebrate the first African to lead the WTO. Before that, let's take this quick video from Dr. Okonjo-Iweala herself, and when we come back, I'll read some of the tweets. Do stay tuned.
Trade is important for the 21st century, is important for prosperity, is important for resilience, is important for sustainable growth. And the WTO is right at the heart of this. This is like a big plus. Choosing a DG WTO should be on merit. If that person happens to be a woman, great. If she happens to be African, great. I hope it's a sign not only to women and girls in my country, but to women and girls worldwide that the world is ready and women can do it. We want to rejuvenate.
All right, so you should go look out for that hashtag. Be more like Ngozi challenge. It's been an interesting one, and then we have a few tweets here. This one is coming from Wale at Daytona, and his handle is at I am slim fit. It says, "I love this Be Like Ngozi challenge idea. Brilliant way to celebrate Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's appointment as the WTO DG. I love this Be Like Ngozi challenge idea. Brilliant way to celebrate Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's appointment as the WTO DG." Coming from Wale at Daytona with the handle at I am slim fit. And we go to the next tweet coming from at Lord Charles 01. At Lord Charles 01 says, "Actually want to see people hop on this Be Like Ngozi challenge. Make it viral." I actually want to see people hop on this Be Like Ngozi challenge, make it viral. So if you're out there, a young lady, that's some encouragement from you to be a part of the Be Like Ngozi challenge. And the final tweet here coming from at bright underscore Uche Madu. At bright underscore Uche Madu says, "If na breast or bomb challenge now, contents for don't fool everywhere. Hashtag Be Like Ngozi challenge. If na breast or bomb challenge now, contents for don't fool everywhere." That's coming from at bright underscore Uche Madu. So that's one of the major trends all across social media. So if you're a young lady, you're a young woman, you might just want to hop on that challenge as we celebrate the new DG of the WTO, and of course begin to appreciate and celebrate those virtues that come with the hardworking African woman. All right, that's it on trending on social media. We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, it'll be time for the big story here on The Conversation. Just stay tuned.
Trade is important for the 21st century, is important for prosperity, is important for resilience, is important for sustainable growth. And the WTO is right at the heart of this. This is like a big plus. Choosing a DG WTO should be on merit. If that person happens to be a woman, great. If she happens to be African, great. I hope it's a sign not only to women and girls in my country, but to women and girls worldwide that the world is ready and women can do it. We want to rejuvenate and reform the WTO.
WTO members
to
are
be
making
the
history.
organization.
For the first time in the 73 years of GATT and WTO, you are selecting a woman and an African as Director General. This is groundbreaking and positive. I'm grateful for the trust you have in me, not just as a woman and an African, but also in my knowledge, experience, and as some of you have said, courage and passion. You can count on me to be proactive, to work hard, to be balanced, fair, professional, and objective, so as to continuously earn and sustain your trust. To restore its credibility, the WTO must deliver early success and results. I have already expanded above on a key area where such results are possible. That is assistance in controlling the COVID-19 pandemic through the nexus of trade and public health. The rule book must be updated to take account of 21st century realities, such as e-commerce and the digital economy. Let me conclude by saying that the challenges facing the WTO are numerous and tricky, but they are not insurmountable. There is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel if we work together in a transparent manner that builds trust, builds bridges, diffuses political tensions, and encourages convergence.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching the conversation on TUS TV, your digital first Pan-African news network, and it's time for us to take the big story. My name is Osaze Isesa. Joining me for the big story,
Atesu, I'll see you. Good morning.
Yeah, this is why you're welcome this morning. All right, the emergence of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has been like the biggest story across social media,
Definitely.
across both traditional, media platforms. As a young African woman, how do you feel about that news?
I feel very elated. It's very motivating, actually. Seeing, the back-to-back first, the US wasn't backing her, so we weren't sure she was going to emerge to WTO, and then, her counterpart dropped, and we're, oh, okay, what's going to happen now? And then she's been, she is officially the Director General of the WTO, and being the first woman to, take up that in over 70 years of the trade organization, not just a woman, also an African. And me personally, being a woman and then an African woman, that's sort of motivational for me and inspiring, and I love to see it.
All right, that will be the crux of our conversation this morning on the big story. Nigerian-born Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has become, or is now, the first woman and the first African to serve as the World Trade Organization, as the world's top trade official, the head of the World Trade Organization, WTO. Now, following the withdrawal of South Korea's candidate, 6 men have served as Director General since its founding in 1995. A former two-time Minister of Finance in Nigeria and a recently confirmed U.S. citizen, Okonjo-Iweala has spent 25 years as a development economist at the World Bank. How is this fit by Okonjo-Iweala going to encourage women to be great and to aspire? That is the crux of our conversation this morning. I don't know if you've seen the Be More Like Ngozi challenge. Yes. What do you think about that?
I love it. I think it's the first time I'm seeing a social media challenge that I love, and I feel like it's something that I can do.
I want to refer to it, no bias to other challenges, but personally, I want to refer to it as one of the most sensible challenges I've seen on social media. Permit me, it's my personal preference.
Personal opinion. So
but then it's like one of the most sensible challenges we've seen on social media. Now, joining us from Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria, is a young lady, Temi Adilana is her name, and she's the founder of Rawake Africa. And we're going to be speaking with her to, like I said, how is this fared by Okonjo-Iweala going to encourage more women to aspire and be great? Hello, Temi, good morning. Hello? Hello? While we're still trying to get Temi right there, the thing for me is this, that is if young women are going to take the lessons. This fear doesn't just come by chance.
Exactly.
It takes a whole lot of resilience. It takes a whole lot of hard work. And all of that. So, but then, how do you see this panning out? From here, looking at the challenge, do you think it's just going to be another news? Nigerians will celebrate, Africans will celebrate that, oh, we have a top trade official, at that level. Is it just going to end with the celebration? What do you think, Adesuwa?
No, I don't think it's going to end. Although we know that Nigerians, Africans generally love to celebrate their own, especially Africans that are doing, stuff on the international scene, big stuff. So I think it's not surprising to see Africans really, coming out for Okonjo-Iweala and say, oh, this is like a great fit. But I don't think it's going to end there, because being a World Trade Organization DJ is no small job. There's going to be, because I think she has a work cut out for it, because it's going to be difficult having to turn over trade for not just Africa. I think there's something that Africans need to understand. She's not there for just Africans. It's a world thing.
She's
She's
there
there for the
entire
globe,
world,
for the entire world. And so
she's got to represent us very well. That's another task.
But I'm quite elated that we're not just seeing Africans as taking up global position for just peacekeeping that Africans are known for, but being a World Trade Organization, DJ, requires lots of intellectual capacity and lots of intellectual capacity. And being a woman, in that position, it just goes to say, oh, you can be an African woman, and you can be as intelligent enough to lead, this sort of body. So there's no limit. I think it's just saying there's no limit as to what you can do at this point, and that's what it is for me.
Okay, so let me ask you this question: would you like to do the Be More Like Ngozi challenge?
I think I would. I think I would try that.
Would you want to try that?
Even though I don't, but I think I have medicated glasses that could work, but I don't have that. I'm going to actually have to look for it and do it. I think we have Temi.
All right, we have Temi right here. Like we did introduce her earlier on. Temi Adelana is speaking with us from Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. Temi, good morning. How are you? Hello, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I think reception is pretty poor at this wedding. I think reception, but let me throw it back to you. Being a man,
okay.
I know that to an extent you still I don't want to use the word feminist, but I know you kind of align with female feminism. I've heard you talk about certain things. Yes. So how do you feel? First of all, being an African and then having to going by the whole razzmatazz that happened before she was appointed the DG, how do you feel? How does that make you feel? What is your reaction to it?
Of course, it's a very exciting news. It's a very wonderful news. And for me, I feel like the job of trying to encourage women, push them to be the best of themselves is being simplified by the day. We don't really have to now struggle to look for models. We don't have to struggle to look for examples, to show them that, look at, this person has done it, you can do it. It's right in front of you. It's a different thing when you don't have models.
Yes.
When you don't, I know we need more. We need more of those role models, particularly women, to just keep setting the pace, for other younger women to follow, to encourage them. So for me, I am particular about that the fact that as a man who subscribed to the ideals of feminism, as someone who, at my own small space, try to encourage women to be leaders and to be their best, for me, I think it's been a great job that has been done. It's more simplified. The task is, though, I don't know how to get you to understand this. It takes a whole lot of work to encourage people.
Especially from an African setting,
where women are not you can be this, exactly. You can do that, So it makes the job a little more easy right now because I don't have to go about trying to push you, trying to force you or coerce you to be your best self. I could just say to you that, look at this person.
Yes.
We have a whole lot of them now.
Yes.
We have, of course, coming from Nigeria, we can see what, I think this whole news about Dr. Okonjo-Iweala also made us remember some other phenomenal women in Nigeria that have done great stuff.
Yeah.
I saw online people also praising the late Professor Dora Akunyili.
Oh, no, yeah.
These are women who have been, so we need more role models. I think Temi is here. Hello, Temi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Finally, we have you. Good morning.
Yeah, how are you? How's Ibadan or your state?
Yeah, fine. Doing fine. Actually, I'm in Ife, Osun State.
Oh, okay. All right, now let's go. Sorry for that miss up there. Now let's go straight to the conversation this morning. Looking at the news of the emergence of Dr. Okonjo-Iweala as the new DG of the WTO, as a young African female, who is doing her best to stand out and also encourage other young females like yourself. How do you feel about this news this morning?
For me, first off, I'll see it as a reformation, something that stands in for change. Like, it gives us hope. Looking at the fact that she emerged as the winner, her tenacity, her strength, and all of the push through the 9 months, and now that she's in, for me, I think that it's a win-win for us in Africa. whether you're a woman or you're a man, and being an example of a role model to most women in Africa. I think this is a huge one for each and every one of us.
Okay, and we do know that Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, aside from being career woman, she's also a mum and she's also a wife. So now, what do you think this spells for gender equality in the world and women inclusion in societal issues? What is this going to spell from here onward?
First off, I like to add that she's also a grandmom.
Oh, amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that for me, it's embedding some sort of everyday factors into our lives, making sure that from the very onset, we start to groom ourselves into being what we want to be as women, inclusive of a lot of factors around us, and not even minding the detrimental factors. We just need to keep moving. And here is why. You could see that from way back, she has been upcoming.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't just start today. So that's what a lot of women need to understand, that you need to be inclusive from the very onset in your very sphere of influence. If you can influence 2 women, start doing it from there. Then always have the end goal, like the end game in mind. You might not specifically have a particular destination, but you would know, like, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to attract, this is the kind of people, the caliber of people I want to be with. So you start to groom yourself in that direction. I think that says it.
Okay, now tell me, I have this question on my mind since the emergence of the news, and I was just talking to my co-host Adeso about it. Now, the thing there is this: Nigerians, Africans, we know how to celebrate.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. Everyone has been part of the razzmatazz all through yesterday. And everyone is celebrating. Now, my question is this: how do you see this pan out? Is it just going to end in celebration? Or African women are going to pick the virtues from this model, and begin to see themselves in that position and begin to see themselves that they can do even much better than that.
I think for me, this is a matter of purpose and alignment. A lot of people are going to celebrate. We know the people we have now. So a lot of people are really going to just keep celebrating. Like, I could tell you that a percentage, about 40% of those that are celebrating don't even know who she is or what really it is. But they just know that some African woman called Ngozi, and because she's kind of popular, so it helps. They know her name from being on the World Bank trips for about a few years, and every other platform that she's been, and being an influential woman when it comes to finance and economic development in Nigeria. But honestly speaking, I could bet with you that just a few women who are aligned with that purpose. For me, it was a push. It's always been a push through the journey, following through the 9 months. As she was able to stay, seeing that she was even there was like a lock up for continuous for what's that the whole Washington DC was not exactly on the side outrightly, like the whole journey, but she just kept going. So I think that it depends on who you are, what you want, and what you actually aspire to be. So for me, it's a win-win, but I can say it's going to be the same, that it's a push rather, but I don't think it's the same thing for every other woman out there. So let's just be honest. We know Nigerians. It's the way they carry trends. So it ends like after 48 hours, everybody forgets.
Now,
people like me, I look into how do I get into WTO provisions, places like being a global shaper, being recognized as. Yeah, so that's like the push for people like me, and I'm sure that we're a few that exist. So I think that so basically
Okay, but we do know that being an African or being a Nigerian is, especially the concept or the idea that African women are not supposed to aspire that much, because I mean a lot of people. So when you talk to a lot of African men, I'm sorry, they'll be like. You're a woman, what are you supposed to do? Just like, you're supposed to be a wife, and then your mom, and then you're not supposed to aspire that far. So, seeing Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and some other notable women that have,
shattered the glass
and done stuff like that, how How do you think we can further project the issue of women aspiring to do more and then breaking the norm, the African values or African mindset? Or how can we do that? How can we strike a balance?
Okay, I think that for those of us on the forefront of helping other women, people like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala herself, Osasek Binyojian, and a couple of other women out there, Ifedros Etsy, looking at Nigeria. I think that myself, we need to speak more on helping on. We need to have more conversations as relating to women empowerment, women being inclusive, and understanding that there are cultural norms, but they're actually norms that we should actually crave into because the times are changing.
Yeah.
We're going into a digital transformation season, or we're in fact the digital transformation already transformed period. So we need to understand that the things that happen, they're not limited to just one gender. Everybody is inclusive. So we need to start speaking up and helping more women understand the value of how do I say this? The value of being a woman and iterating new cultures and just going all out for what you want to be and what you want to achieve, not minding what it is. Which I think that, especially in Africa, we've been cut down from believing that we could do things. We could actually make moves. We could create changes. And one thing I told my community recently was, we're going to start having more conversations. And I think another thing is when we start having these conversations in this regard, we need to take it in steps. We need to know, okay, this time around, I'm taking this toll of mission. And once we accomplish this phase, we're going into another phase. So it has to be a consistent journey of saying things. Like when you want people to change or when you want to achieve something, that you have to keep doing. So there are things that I believe that more conversations, more support, more women inclusive programs and investment opportunities. Because if we look at one of the major issues is women keep depending on men for more money, for influence, believing that, okay, when we look at the scale, at the large scale, looking at the fact that this other gender will be able to supply my needs. So we start saying that we can both deliver, in fact, even better. We can work together to achieve for greatness. So I think that this is something that has to do with the mindset. And if you want to correct that, we need to keep going in terms of missions and having consistent conversations every now and then.
Okay, all right, Tell me, before we take your closing statements on the subject matter this morning, I don't know if you've seen the Be More Like Ngozi challenge. Would you like to be a part of that challenge?
What challenge? The Ngozi challenge?
Yes. Yeah. Would you like to dress like her and showcase that attire, be a part of the challenge?
That's not a bad one. That's like actually interesting. I'm down.
I mean, I said the same thing, right? I think it's about the one thing.
All right. So, what are your closing statements before we go? Just share a word or two for young African females listening to you right now.
Okay, so I think that one thing that got Ngozi to where she is now is something the WTO calls breadth of support, which is known as the distribution of preferences across geographic regions and among categories of members generally recognized as in WTO provisions, which I mentioned earlier, from developed countries, underdeveloped, even growing economies. And yet what I have to say, every woman needs this breadth of support.
Exactly.
And you never get it from your sphere of your current sphere. You need to be out there. You need to do things beyond the regular. You need to pick yourself up and look out for opportunities because actually there are lots of opportunities out there, and stand up to actually be a part of this change game that we all are thriving in and thriving towards. You watch people like the founder, CEO of TOS TV. You watch a lot of other women like Ngozi herself, and just know that you have this breadth of support waiting for you.
Sure.
So that's what I really have to say. And also look into deep and wide-ranging sort of reformation. Don't just don't just make change on the surface. Let it go deep down. Anything you're doing, you don't have to do too many things at the same time. Take it one after the other in terms of missions, as I said earlier. For me, let me use myself as an example. Just 3 words for me this year. Step up, scale up, and speak up. All in face of my business, my personal self, and Rawake Africa itself. So you need to know what you want for yourself and take it in terms of that, because we're in a time of great uncertainty and a lot of challenge. And it has had its tolls on each and every one of us. It has its tolls economically, elsewise, and in so many ways. So we need to be out of the norm and do all the things I just mentioned.
Brilliant.
And I'm sure that you will make the best of it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Temi Adilana. We really do appreciate you. We look forward to having more insightful conversation with you on this issue. Thank you very much for being a part of the conversation this morning.
Thank you so much, Asase and Adeswa. It was nice also doing this with you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Do enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, you too. Cheers. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, we'll be speaking to Temi Adilana, founder of Rawake Africa, a young, brilliant lady doing such a great job encouraging other young females like ourselves to be better, and of course maximize their potentials. Yeah, she spoke to us from Ife, Osun State, Nigeria this morning on the conversation. You could also be a part of the conversation on our Twitter page. Just go to our Twitter page at TOS TV Network and tell us what you think. How does this fiat achieved by Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala encourages you as a young African female, as a young African woman out there? We'd like to read your thoughts on our social media platforms this morning.
Not just young African women. I like to add too.
Okay.
I don't like to put an age limit to it.
Oh, okay.
Because yes, you could be 40 and still aspire to want to do more. You could be 50. So it doesn't have to. There shouldn't be a barrier at age, because lots of women be like, oh, what can I do? I'm like 40. What can I do? But she's a grandmom, and then she's still taking all of that stuff.
Still aspiring to do
just
bigger and better stuff.
Being a woman in Africa, an African woman, no age limit. Just aspire to do more. I think that's the point that should be taken.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Do well to follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TOS TV Network. Our website is always there to give you informative, insightful, educative news stories all across Africa. The website is www.tostvnetwork.com. Do enjoy lots of our programming as we do all of this just for your viewing pleasure here on TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African news network. Until we come your way again tomorrow, do have a productive and wonderful day. I am Osaze Isesele.
And I am Adeswa. See you. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning.